my advertising campaign on Marwen. They are located here locally in Chicago. So, who is Marwen? Marwen, they classify themselves as young people who have critical and vital stories to tell. They believe young people have the power to imagine and create our future. They believe art is a tool for connection, healing, growth, and justice. They believe artists drive and create social change. And they also believe access to art and creativity is an essential human right and need. So, Marwen's mission statement: Marwen exists to inspire young people to nurture their growth and build their futures through art and community. What they do: they build a supportive and creative community with other young artists. They learn about art as a vehicle for social change. They collaborate with teaching artists. They explore an array of artistic techniques. They have access to materials and art studio spaces, and they have access to leadership and employment opportunities for other students. So basically, what Marwen is, it's a non-for-profit designed for young students in the Chicagoland area. Marwen creates a safe and creative space for students who might not have access to art and art programs. With public schooling receiving less and less money, many art programs are being cut. This is where Marwen comes in. They have brick and mortar locations that have open studio spaces with materials, computers, and other professionals to help students. They also offer online art courses and college help and prep. So their target market, they classify their target market as quote unquote young people, which is in grades 6 through 12 in the Chicagoland area. Currently, there's around 340,000 students currently enrolled in Chicago public schools, and 9 out of 10 public schools have decreased or cut their art programs entirely within the last 5 years. So their current social media outreach, they currently go over 4 platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Vimeo. So Facebook, they have around 4,500 followers currently. They do post frequently, and they highlight local artists. They post about local workshops and in-person functions. They comment on some relevant recent news, but it's mostly a page for them to post more information about their in-person functions. Their Instagram has around 3,400 followers, and their Twitter has 846. Basically, these three are just copy and pasted from one another. There's no difference between any of them. The only difference is Vimeo, because that is a video platform. I don't know why they went with Vimeo and not YouTube. However, I think that's why they only have 18 followers, although they do have 102 videos on Vimeo. And their videos are actually really good. They include crash courses, they include online workshops, they include table talks, they include informational videos. It really just gives you an insight on what their art course is and what they offer. The one aspect, however, that they currently have that I do like is their website. The website is really easy to navigate, and it has all the essential information you need. It has steps you need to apply. It tells you who Marwen is, what they do. You can donate through their website. You can support them. They have local news clips. They have local artists. They show the impact and support they have on the community. The website is actually really well done. So their strengths: so recent facility expansion and renovation. Recently, they received a large amount of cash, so they were able to add more studios, features, and online courses. They do have public galleries that are open to the public, so this allows for exposure. They offer college credit, guidance, and resources. They have an extensive staff of professional artists working in the field. Their target market, or their target audience, is large and growing, and essentially as a brand, they are very wholesome and welcoming. They do have some weaknesses though. They have a very small exposure and a small following. Currently, they are limiting themselves to only the local Chicago market. Even though there are currently many volunteers, they still do not have enough to meet the demand. And because they are a non-for-profit, they don't have a large source of income either. But they do have some opportunities with CPD schools getting more and more cuts. Their art programs are receiving less funding and getting smaller and smaller. As sad as that is, this does essentially create a larger target market for Marwen for them to capitalize on. Also, as schools have transitioned to online, having computer and Wi-Fi access is much more common and practical, and this allows for students to be able to receive an online education from Marwen even if they're not in Chicago. So currently they're limiting themselves to the Chicago market, but by using online schooling as a new platform through Zoom and through Teams, they can expand their market even nationwide if they wanted to. They do have a few different threats. So, with the rising number of kids and not having access to art courses, this leaves the demand for teachers and artist educators very high. They are currently looking for new applicants, they are posting about it. So, there is a demand for that. Also, within Chicago, there are currently a multitude of many different non for profit organizations that people can choose from, especially for art and music. So, the threat there would be how we would convince people to donate to Marwen and not a different non for profit. Advertising objectives and goals. With the new Marwen campaign, we would like to expect an increase in all of our social media followings on all platforms and also an increase in student admissions. Cumulatively, we would like around 20,000 followers for all four platforms and 1,000 new applicants for the new school year. So advertisement one, we are going to change platforms from Vimeo to YouTube. YouTube is more easily accessible, it's more popular, especially with the younger generation. So that's a pretty easy change right there. And this YouTube ad is going to target specifically young people, which is grades 6 through 12, who might be interested in art or pursue art education. We have a 30-second YouTube ad that's placed for selected videos and selected people's feeds. And you can track this by clicks and actions. So you can track it by clicks, how many people click, and we'll take you to the website. And the action that is linked to advertisement one will be through applications. So we can track how many people applied through the YouTube link. So this YouTube ad will be 30 seconds. It can follow a storyline of 3 or 4 different students who chose to participate in the Marwen education program. And they will talk about why they chose Marwen, what they did for Marwen, what Marwen did for them. Just a quick little 30-second ad that really shows the different courses, the different opportunities Marwen has for students who are looking to be more creative or pursue art. Advertisement 2 will be on their Instagram. This will focus solely on Chicago artists. This is something they currently do on their Instagram, but because it is copy and pasted from their other platforms, they have everything else on there too. So we would just focus on cutting back and have it be solely focused on local Chicago artists. This will create a welcoming and creative, fun environment to draw in creative students. They'll be placed in selective target audiences and feeds. So ideally, one of our local artists would pop up on someone's feed. It would be inspiring to someone. They might want to support local artists or look more into Marwen. And we can measure this by clicks and actions as well. So we can see how many people clicked on the ad, how many people brought it to the Marwen website, and also through this advertisement, this will link to local artists' in-person functions and galleries. So we can see how many people signed up to view this local artist gallery through Marwen's Instagram ad. And then advertisement 3 will be for Facebook. This will be targeting parents specifically. I think Facebook is mostly used more by parents than I would say students. So I think that would be better for targeting an older generation. So the Facebook ad would show parents why art is important for young people and how Marwen can be a valuable resource for them to use. So the Facebook campaign, it would focus on how art may be a viable career path for their kid, or why art is important in building personalities in young students. And this will be placed in selected audiences' feeds, and this is also measured by clicks and actions. So this will also be measured by how many people will click the link to the Marwen's website, but also how many people will sign up for an in-person function. So one of the examples they have is a career panel where they have different artists who have pursued art as a career, and they talk about how they did that and how prosperous it can be. So ethics and national movements. As far as ethics goes, Marwen, it's a pretty non-problematic company. Really, transparency, I would say, is key. As a non-for-profit, you just have to be completely transparent of where funds and money is going. So if they receive a donation, 100% of that donation should be transparent to the public so they know where their money is going that they're donating. As far as national movements go, there isn't really a national hashtag like a Me Too or hashtag End Hunger that's associated with Marwen or even art programs in public schools in general. However, there are a lot of movements for advocating for art programs in public schools, especially in Chicago as well, especially with recently a lot of schools having to cut funding for art. We see a mini protest showing that yes, STEM classes are important, but art funding is also important as well. So we can kind of rise on this movement and help raise awareness, but it can also help drive more students to apply to Marwen. And yes, these are my citations. And yeah, that was my presentation. All right, thank you.